There's a quote: absolute power corrupts absolutely, and there's no better example of that than the U.S. Supreme Court. I mean, think about it. We know now that Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito has flown two flags supporting insurrections on two of his properties. We know that for a fact. We know that Clarence Thomas's wife was part and parcel to organizing, facilitating, and deploying an attempted coup on this country. We know that for a fact. We know that Clarence Thomas and Brett Kavanaugh have been accused of multiple sexual harassment charges, not to mention sexual assault. We know that for a fact. We know that multiple Supreme Court justices have taken all kinds of bribes, everything from a $275,000 RV to hundreds of thousands of dollars in fancy trips and God knows what kind of money under the table. We know that for a fact. Now, the Supreme Court will say, we can police ourselves. Well, clearly you can't. You can't because you haven't. You've gone rogue. You run roughshod. You do whatever the fuck you want. Now, if you're old like me, you remember the 60s, 70s, and 80s. You remember hearing about politicians resigning and walking away in shame for simply having a mistress or committing an adulterous affair. But nowadays, you can do pretty much anything you want. This is a significant problem. The Supreme Court is absolutely necessary to create the balance we need to maintain a democracy. We have our Congress and we have our Supreme Courts allowing anything to get by, all of it working against our country. Now, you talk about the January 6th insurrection, but I'm going to tell you this: what's going on in the Supreme Court is an actual attack on our country, is an actual attack on democracy. It's slower moving, it's not as crazy as January 6th was, but make no mistake, it's just as serious an attack as we saw on January 6th. But all people in Congress are walking around, well, I don't know, it could be, it couldn't. No, motherfucker, this is something we need to fix, and we need to fix it. Facts. Unfortunately, we can't do that until we get the Republican obstructionists out the fucking door. So we need to keep the pressure on the Supreme Court. Let them know we are not happy with their criminality. And keep the pressure on, and then when November comes, get those Republicans out and then act fast and decisively about the Supreme Court.